Hi, this is Yolanda Vanveen from vanveenbulbs.com. And next we're going to talk about how to deadhead flowers. So it's really not that complicated. My theory in my garden is if it looks lush and beautiful, leave it alone. If it looks dead, cut it out. And deadheading is just like it sounds. You're just cutting the heads of the dead flowers out. So right now these Acidanthera have done blooming, but there's still some blooms on them. But the bottom part looks tacky. So I'll just cut these little parts that are done blooming out, or I can pull them right out too. A lot of times, if you leave them, they'll go to seed, and then you can spread the seeds around. But with deadheading, you're pretty much cutting them out before they go to seed. As soon as they look tacky, you're chopping them out. So I'm kind of just pulling these out. That's a good way to do it. I've got this agapanthus. It's done blooming. The color is gone. It's making seed pods. So to deadhead it, I'm actually going to just cut it to the ground and cut the stem out. And these are actually seed pods. So my rule of thumb is they're not completely dry, but there's still seeds in there. So instead of throwing them away, what I've done too is just cut them out. And I'm cutting the greens out. And I'm just letting those seeds drop back down by my agapanthus or lily of the Nile. And a lot of times they'll start new starts that way. Same with my calla lilies. A lot of times towards the end of the blooming cycle, you'll get what's called seed pods. And these actually are pods of bulbs. So I'm deadheading, but I'm actually saving these seed pods. And so my rule of thumb is I don't usually hold anything because I'm too busy to deal with it later. So I will turn around as soon as I deadhead and plant that seed pod back in the ground. It might not do anything for a few years, but eventually it will grow. That's what I've always been so amazed about. The same with these canna lilies. They're done blooming, but the stem right here looks tacky, so I'm just chopping it to where the leaf is. The leaf's still healthy. So again, I've got all these little seed pods. So I could just clear those out, but again, I always give plants a chance to grow, so I'm actually cutting the seeds, and I could save them and plant them next spring, or I could throw them in the ground now. But I kind of just take the seeds and sprinkle them around, and over the years I find I get lots more plants in the future. So a lot of times when I deadhead too, you know, this is still blooming, but it just kind of is falling over and looks a little bit tacky. So I'm actually going to cut it out. And these too, a lot of times just by straightening them out a little bit, they'll look a lot better, and they won't fall over. And so it's not necessarily just the blooms that I cut out. Anything that turns brown or looks tacky, I've been chopping out of my garden. And it just makes it look better. It's like giving my garden a haircut. And there's all types of plants that you can deadhead. And the same thing, like this Galtonia is just about done blooming. So I'm just going to chop it out. And again, I can save the seeds and sprinkle the seeds around, or I can throw them out. It really doesn't matter. They're going to come back no matter what I do. When you deadhead, you don't have to be that strict. I kind of just go in and cut out the dead plants. I've got a little tiny geranium here. I'm just cutting the dead flowers out. So eventually, as I keep clearing out everything, I'll find that it just looks better. And I do this only maybe every once or twice a month, and it seems to make all the difference. And it makes it a lot easier task at the end of the summer when everything dies back. So deadheading is something that's easy to do. Do it when you think about it, and always compost your extra plants that you don't need anymore.